things are just so dependent on where you are in your life at that point in time, and that those things might change in your lifetime and in your career experience. So it's just really helpful to stop and think about how do you make these decisions? How do you assess what matters to you? It's really important that we have some kind of resources to think about those things. This is a very, very simple example of a values question. And it's the kind of guided inquiry that can be helpful for you in making these kinds of really difficult decisions. So we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about how you can take advantage of guided inquiry now to help you position yourself for the career path that you want to have later. All decisions have consequences. So for years, academic societies and funding agencies have considered the question of how to help doctoral students and postdocs align their graduate education and training with career planning that is inclusive of careers within and beyond the academy. So in 2003, the Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology, or FOSSEB, proposed an IDP framework for postdoctoral fellows in the sciences. And they took this IDP concept, which is individual development plan, from industry. So it was a tool that folks in the corporate setting were using to help employees in an organization define, articulate, and plot out their career goals. So through a process of continuous feedback, supervisors could support short-term and long-term career planning for their employees. So as an outcome of that conversation from FOSSEB, a coalition of universities, AAAS, and Science Magazine, and FOSSEB combined to develop a web-based career planning tool tailored to meet the needs of PhD students and postdocs in the sciences, which was released as MyIDP. So in 2012, there were over 100,000 users for MyIDP, and I'm sure that number is much larger now. So recognizing the value of such a tool, in 2014, the Graduate Career Consortium and 56 member institutions combined to make another online tool that would be inclusive of scholars from non-STEM fields, primarily those in the humanities and social sciences. And this one is called ImaginePhD. Both of these tools are available to anyone for free. You don't have to have an ASU account or log in through ASU. And if you use it, we aren't collecting your information through either of these tools. But you will get the most out of these tools by creating an account respectively on their individual websites. So we'll drop the links to each of these in the chat in a minute, but first we'd like to talk a little bit about what you can expect to find within them. So you'll see the structure of these is pretty similar. Both tools include pretty robust career exploration features and will display job families and career paths that might be good matches based on your responses to the assessments. But it isn't one of those aptitude tests that you may have taken in secondary school. Like you type in, I like this is what I'm good at, and then it says, oh, congratulations, you should be a sailor, whatever the output is. And one of the initial users for ImaginePhD remarked, I really liked using the tool because it didn't tell me what to do. And instead it got me to think through things on my own. And so I think that's a really helpful way to approach either of these tools or both of them, depending on what your field of study is. You might want to explore both. They're meant to support you. And they are like a framework for you to do the inquiry and evaluation that you need to do. And they're not meant to give you results so much. You're putting in the results, you're putting in the work. They're just tools that you can use to kind of capture that information. So the structure is set up for you to use in that continuous feedback process that we know is just incredibly necessary for effective career planning. We know it is a process and it isn't linear. So it might look a little bit like this, right? This is a rendering of the career planning roadmap that was provided by UC San Francisco. And this can help you to visualize sort of this continuous loop that you may experience and plan in your career. You're gonna start with that self-inquiry. So it's your interests. What am I interested in? Like, what are the things that make me excited? What am I good at? Like, these are the things I already know how to do, so I don't have to backfill a skill gap here. So your skills assessment. And really, what is important to me, I think, is the question that I have, in my experience, sometimes have found that graduate students don't ask themselves enough, or may not be as much of the concept that you have conversations around in your program. So things like, I really need to get a job where I can support myself. I need to get benefits. You know, if that's important to you, that's important to you. You shouldn't feel shame around that. And sometimes I feel like, you know, we kind of get caught up in ideas in our degree programs where that may not be as acceptable. Decisions about, like, I need to make decisions based on my family's needs right now, like my kids in school, I can't move, you know, those are important things. So making sure that we're including all of those things at the beginning, that's a self-assessment. That's your first, you know, your starting place. And then you're going to go through this sort of loop. And you've started with the assessment, and then you're going to investigate. And here's the area where graduate students have the best skills, right? Because you've already learned, you're learning and you're refining how you do research. So this is something that you can do without any real training. You can figure this out. So hopefully, as part of your research in different avenues for future careers, you're also talking to people. So not just doing research, you know, in media, but also talking to people, like making sure that you're doing informational interviews as part of that data gathering. And then you're going to test out different hypotheses. Like, this would be a good career for me, or maybe I should try something in this setting. You know, those are hypotheses, and then you're going to test them out. You're going to experiment a little bit and figure out, oh, is this something that I want to pursue? Or like, oh, no, wait, I learned something here that makes me reevaluate my initial hypothesis, and now I need to retest. So I think if you approach this a little bit like a research project, that this will be a little easier for you to follow through. So you need a plan. So once you get through that kind of initial evaluation, investigation, reflection, and you've started to figure out, like, okay, these are the directions I want to go, then you're going to need a plan. And what's great about both of these tools, MyIDP and ImaginePhD, is that you can engage in all of the steps in this process through the tools. So you can use it to document your progress. You can even output your plan for discussion with mentors and faculty advisors to have them help you identify missing steps or next opportunities. And we've been talking about these tools largely in terms of your career plan, but you can also use these tools to map out your degree goals as well. So the next thing I'm going to do now is just share a couple of screenshots, because I don't want to waste time like going to web pages. I think it'll just be easier to do that. So we're going to go to, these are screenshots from MyIDP. So MyIDP, remember, is the one that's designed for folks in the STEM areas. So the left-hand side is a screen capture of the left-hand side navigation. So it's set up for you to kind of move sequentially from top to bottom. But there are some things you can do out of order, like you can go and read the articles and the resources in each section. But others would be challenging because, like, for example, if you look at on the right side, there's that table below and it lists career paths. That's going to be informed by your skills, interests, and values assessment. So if you haven't done those, then the matching won't be as evident for you. So in that sense, it would be better for you to do that sequentially. So then we'll also look at the planning portion of the tool, because I think that's also incredibly helpful. So MyIDP has 3 components to the planning tools. It's on the left-hand side under Create Plan. they are related to different stages of your planning. So the project goals section, which is the one that's on the right side of the slide here, it directly maps to your degree plan. So for each area that you need to work on, you can outline a SMART goal. And SMART goals are an acronym for S, specific, M, measurable, A, action oriented, R, realistic, and T, time bound. So is it focused? Could someone determine whether or not you have achieved this goal? Did you specify the action you will take? Considering difficulty and time frame, is this goal attainable? And did you specify a deadline? So maybe we can think of, you have an option at the bottom to add an additional goal that may not be listed. So one example might be like, maybe you know that your research interest touches on another discipline. So like as part of your degree plan, your goal could be to consult with an expert in another discipline to make sure that your methodology is sound. I mean, something like that could be an example. It's related to completing your degree, conducting your research, making that academic progress, but it's not specifically identified here. The other planning sections are for career advancement. So examples of that would be things like creating a professional digital presence. So under career advancement, they have things like, oh, you should create a professional digital presence, grow my professional network. And in the skills goals, you might see things like, oh, I need to do better at navigating the peer review process, presenting research to non-scientists, or writing grant proposals. Those are examples. That's not a comprehensive list by any means. So each of those is sort of related to the different stages of goal setting. So my suggestion is that if you are in your first year of a master's or your first and second year of your PhD, like you might be zeroing in just on the project goals here at this stage. Like that's really kind of where your energy needs to be. And then maybe you wait to dive into the career advancement goals until you feel that your project goals are fully fleshed out, like you have a timeline, you kind of know what the plan is. Likewise, I would recommend waiting until you've narrowed your career exploration ideas to a handful as opposed to like 10 or 15 before targeting specific skills. Because while many skills are transferable to many different fields, not all of them are equally transferable. So you want to make sure that we're looking at efficiency here. Like, where do I spend the best, how do I manage my time best so that I'm getting the best use out of the time that I have while I'm a grad student, to make sure that I'm expanding all of the different opportunities that I need, so that when I walk out of here, I know I have a plan and I'm meeting the goals of that plan. So we're going to now hop over to look at what ImaginePhD has to offer. And again, they have assessments. There's values, skills, and interest assessments, and that does inform sort of like a baseline map to different job families. And they kind of really articulate what that kind of work looks like. They also give you a little window into sort of what those jobs could be. So it gives you a little bit more of that career exploration space. Similarly, they lay out the planning tools for different stages. So if you look at the top, they have degree completion, career development, skill development. They also have personal development and money and funding, as each of those is a different goal area. And you can add your own new goal. Or you can consult the PDF list of suggested goals as a resource. So let me see if I can drop this into the chat as a link. So you can see their list of suggested goals. And that might just be a starting place for you to think about, oh yeah, that reminds me I need to also add this goal to my list here. In addition, you can export these goals as well as like the time frame to your personal calendar. You can also change the view. So you can look at things over a 3-month time frame, 6-month time frame, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 7 years. And I think that really speaks to, regardless of what time frame you have for your degree program, your career is something that never ends, hopefully, knock on wood, that you are continuously progressing. And we know, I don't actually have any solid data at the minute, but we know that there's evidence that career transitions are more common now, that people will not just change jobs, but in some cases might change careers in their lifetime, maybe more than one time even. And so, and that's not unusual, and it's not something to be scared about. It's something to embrace. Is like there's lots of different opportunities. We all have potential to be mobile, and when you think about it, if you're looking at those assessments, your skills, values, and interests, those are going to change over time. So like going back to that idea at the beginning, like right now, maybe salary is the most important thing, because you haven't really built up equity for yourself, and so you want to do that. But different points in time, it's that family home setting that allows you to thrive. That's the thing that is the biggest priority for you. And as you move through your career, those things are going to change depending on what the context is for you. So what I think is really helpful is to start using these tools, because it's a way for you to sort of do this planning for yourself. And it's also something that you can articulate to other people. So especially like if you're having conversations with, a committee or your dissertation chair or whomever it may be, those are things that you can bring to the table because you've plotted it out ahead of time before. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it.